All right. Good evening, everybody. We're going to give it a couple minutes, like we normally do, to make sure that everybody is hopping on. I know I always say 6:30, but I know people can be a few minutes late, and that's okay. We're going to try to account for that and help everybody out. First thing I want you guys to do is in the comments, let me know how it sounds. We got a new mic today, and we're trying to make things a little bit better because we'll probably be doing this just as long as, well, a long time is most likely what we're going to be ended up doing this. So let me know how it sounds. It looks like Bailey's here. Hi, Bailey. Also wanted to let you guys know that YouTube did reach out to us, reached out to anybody who has an account, and said that any streaming or just video watching in general, because a lot of people are using this service now, that the quality may not be as good. So I'm doing what I can to try to improve the quality of the video. Last week it was okay. I had some ups and downs, which I assume have to do with some network related issues. But some of this now might actually be YouTube telling us no more. You know, don't stream at high quality. Won't let us do it at 4K and everything. So, and you guys, I see you said you're behind about 10 seconds right now because I'm trying to improve the quality of the video. It's actually going to be behind about 30 seconds. I let it lag a little bit more. So what I'm saying and what you guys are typing, it'll probably be about 30 seconds to 45 seconds before I get there. So I'm hoping to get some more volunteers in here, and the volunteers can watch what you guys are watching and help answer questions. I know that a couple of my volunteers are sick right now, so we're struggling a little bit to make sure that we have everything we need. I see our viewers are up more than last time too. I see only 2 of you talking right now, which is fine, but I actually see concurrent viewers is up higher, so that's good. Shows that we have more people checking it out. We also had people checking out the video from last week after we posted it, so that's nice. And again, what I want you guys to do is, if you don't have a Scratch account, go ahead and hop into Scratch. It's scratch.mit.edu. You can see it at the top of the page here. Create a Scratch account. Also, if you want to chat, I highly encourage this, not just chat to have fun, but chat to ask questions, because this is still interactive. I don't want to just talk at you guys. I want you guys to be able to ask questions the whole time as well. I want you guys to create a YouTube account. If you have a YouTube account, you can go in, you can ask questions, you can comment. I've made it to where anybody, you don't have to just be a kid, adults can come in here too and chat, and it's actually moderated. I see all the stuff that comes through. If something comes through, I have filters set. If something comes through that I deem as inappropriate, I can actually tell it no, kick it out, and even kick people out. So be good if you're in the chat, and ask good questions, and we'll all get along. All right, I'm going to give it about 1 more minute, and then we're going to get started. I got Kaizo and Pierce. Got Alicia. We got Bailey. There we go. We got people today. Nice. We're doing good today. All right. We're up to 8 viewers right now. That's pretty good. We're going to get more and more. We'll get more people. Okay. So, what we're going to do today is, I created this game. Well, I didn't create this game. It's actually a board game, and I like this board game. And let's see. I just saw something come through, and I'm gonna say hide that because it was just a bunch of emojis, a lot of emojis. That's not what we want to see. So anyway, there's this game that was made. It's called Roll For It. It's a really fun game. Normally you play it with 3 cards. I built it in Scratch with only 1 card, and I built this a while ago, but I thought it would be fun to kind of work on a project that's a little bit bigger. So Roll For It, what it is it's a game where you draw a card. The card has certain dice on it, and each card is worth a certain amount of points. Now, what you're trying to do is you're trying to roll, you have 6 dice, you try to roll those dice, and you try to match your dice from each roll to the card. Now this gets a little more complicated when you have 3 cards, because then you have to decide which card you want to go to, and you start getting into mathematics and stuff. That's a lot more fun. We're going to make this simple. We're only going to do 1 card, and I'm going to show you guys how this works here. So, actually, let's not see inside. I take that back. Let's just see how it works. Let's just expand this. So we have red scores and blue score. What we're going to do is we're going to start this up, and it's going to pick one of 3 cards. So there's a card worth, I believe, 2, there's a card worth 10 points, and there's a card worth 15. So depending on which card we pull, it actually sets a certain amount of dice here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to roll this, and we rolled our dice. This is a random generator for us. It picks 6 random dice for us, and you see kind of get the little roll animation there. We're going to program that too. So then we have to look here and look up here and try to see if there's any dice that match. So we're looking for 2, 6, 4. We have none of that. That sucks. That's not great. So what we're going to do is we're going to say we're done with our turn. So we're going to click done, and then the computer's going to go. Now the computer actually does the same thing. It looks at the card, it decides what dice are available, and then it picks the dice and assigns them to the card. So far it found 2. It's beating us. We got at least 1 here, so we can't click this other one because the 6 has already been used. And that's all we have. Okay, we're going to keep going. Now you notice the computer now has less dice than it did before. It started with 6, it only has 4. It rolled 4, found nothing, so it's not going to assign anything, comes back to us. And we keep doing this. I'm trying to get through this card so I can show you guys the additional features. Hey, there we go. There we go. I got 10 points, as you can see. 10 points there. And a new card is drawn with new numbers on it, and we're going to roll again. It knows that it's the next person's turn, so it's not going to let me roll again. This is a full-fledged game. This is actually how it runs in the real game. I actually have it. It's right over here. I can see it from where I'm sitting. I have a big old shelves of games, and this is one of them on there, and I like this game a lot. So we're gonna try to recreate it. How's everybody feeling about this? Looks like a lot, right? And sorry, I didn't get rid of the squeaky seat. Still have the squeaky seat. We'll figure it out. Okay, you guys are still really quiet. Again, I know we're on a leg. I'm waiting a little bit, seeing if you guys catch up. Also dragging my feet, seeing if anybody else comes in. All right, so let's go and let's get this started. Let's start where we need to, what we need to do is we need to go in and we're gonna remix this. So what I did is I created this game already, but I removed all the code from it. So the only thing that's actually left in it is the assets, is the sprites. So we're gonna have available to us the card, the dice. You know, I believe I left in the actual variables as well. So we need to go in and we need to remix this. So go to your Scratch account. Make sure you're logged in. You have to be able to log in to remix. And in the search bar, type future of code. So future of code's what we're looking for. That is the account that we have for the organization. So when we're done with that, we're going to hit enter, and we should see what's called Roll For It template. This is what we want here. Click on Roll For It template. It's going to open it up. Let's give it a second. And then we have two buttons here at the top. On the top right-hand side, we have Remix and we have See Inside. We want Remix. And as you can see, the instructions, we follow along to the YouTube video for instructions for this specific one, but also under notes and credits, because I am using somebody else's material, I'm using their ideas. I did come in and say, hey, this is Calliope Games, and I gave the web address to where it can be found. So we want to be able to give people credit where credit's due. So anyway, let's go in and let's hit Remix here. And we should see this project is saved as a remix. That's great. That's exactly what we want to see. This is where we want to be right now. So we have card dice, we have red rolls, we have blue players, we have it's just called Sprite 1. Sorry, I didn't rename it something proper, which that's our card here. We have our done button, our done to button, and a you win logo. So you should all be at this spot. I will give you a second. I'll let you catch up if you need it. And if anybody has questions, remember to say something in chat and I can respond to you. All right, I'm pulling open my code so I can take a look and see what I've done. And we're gonna walk through this. Has anybody not gotten this open? Has anybody not got it remixed? You guys can do like we do in class too, or in the club sometimes. If you guys want to say that you're good, you can give us a thumbs up. You can do a little emoji, thumbs up. It lets me know that you guys are doing well. And that is much appreciated. It helps out the teacher, Okay, so where we're going to start with this is we're going to start with the card. That's the first thing we really need to do here. The card kind of controls the whole game. It is the central part of it. As you notice that we roll the dice, but we only roll the dice and pick dice based on what the card's showing. So if the card's not showing anything, it's not going to help us any. Right now, if we hit the green button and we make this go, it's going to do absolutely nothing. You see, it's just I'm clicking and nothing's happening. So where we're going to start with this is we're going to have a couple different pieces. One, we're going to work on functions today. I really like functions. Functions work very, very well when we get to this complex of a game, and you will see that this gets complex. But we can take these complexities and we can split them up into smaller sections and smaller functions, and it's just like a math problem. You give an input to it and it gives an output. It's really, really simple. In fact, most of my functions, yes, I did create the code. This is all my code. I developed this based on the game. So again, we're going to split this up. All of my functions, they don't take an input. All they do is produce something. So it's kind of nice. All we have to do is say run this and it runs. So where we're going to start is we're going to start first things first with green flag clicked. Go to events. And in events, we're going to grab the when green flagged click button and we're going to drag this in. I'm going to blow this up just a little so we can all see. There we go. All right, the next thing we need to do is this sprite is actually very, very large. You'll notice that we don't show sizes in here. It says size 13. I've already set the size in this, but we want to make sure the size is always set when we start out. These are called initializers. We want to make sure when a program starts that things that are variable to us, such as size, are all set appropriately. And in this game, size is going to matter because if the card blows up too big or too small, then things aren't going to show up right. So we're going to go to looks and we're going to grab set size It's down here, set size, and it says 100. We are going to change this to 70. We want to set the size to 70. So if we click this to make it run, oh, I did something wrong. You guys see what I did wrong? Hi, Bailey. You're scared? You shouldn't be scared. We do stuff like this all the time. So the dice, you see that we messed up the dice. It was set to a different size. We'll get to that. So we need to go to the card, and we need to actually make sure that we're on the card. That's a mistake I made. Rookie mistake. You guys, I should know better than that. All right, we're going to do the same thing though. When green flag is clicked, then we're going to go looks and set size to 70%. This is why you guys are in chat. You're supposed to look at that and be like, Chris, don't do that, man. Like, you know, come on, keep me on the straight and narrow. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is, you know what? I'm gonna do something real quick here. I'm gonna come back to this, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Let's go to the white dice, and I'm gonna set the white dice. We want to set it to size 13. If any of you did that, let me know. We can fix that real quick. It's not too bad. Like I said, I just went to white dice, set it to size 13. I already have sizes in here. It's not a big deal. It's easy to fix. Okay. Let me get back to the right code here. All right, now what we're going to do is we want to make sure our card's also placed in the center here. We want to make sure that it's always in the center, because where we put the white dice on top of it is going to matter. Again, just like we set our size, we need to set our location. So we're going to come in here to motion, and we're going to go to X and Y. We're going to take go to X and Y, and we're going to change it actually to exactly what it says right there. We need to make sure it says 0 for X, and Y it says 16. Okay, so now that you guys should have that, should be on the card, should all look good. I hope we're all well. If anybody messed up, let me know. You know, that's just what the chat's there for. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is we gotta go to my blocks. My blocks should be empty. It's not gonna look great for us. It's gonna be sad. It's gonna be lonely in there. We need to start making some blocks. So we're gonna say make a block. And where it says block name here, we are going to name this new card. We don't have to put anything in it. Like I said, most of my functions don't take anything in this program. They just need to be called. They just need to know that something has to happen. It's kind of like a trigger. Okay. Now we click OK. Check this out. It created a whole new goofy looking block for us. Kind of this, not quite a square, not quite a circle, huh? And it says define new card. This is going to be our new function. And what we want to do is we want to call this function. We're going to put it right at the bottom of green flag clicked, because we want a new card to populate this program when we create a new program. So when we click that green flag, when we start it up, we want it to say, hey, there's going to be a new card. You're going to notice that this is going to be used a couple different times, because we're going to need new cards throughout the game. So we're not just going to call it here, we're going to call it other places. This is why we create a function, is because we're going to write this code inside new card to make it develop a brand new card on the table. But we want to call it from different places. Since we're using the same code in many different places, we can consolidate that to a function, and we can just call that function instead. This is a way that makes life a little bit easier for us. We don't have to worry as much. It's a lot nicer. It's more relaxed. We know that it's been built. We know that it works. All we have to do is just call it. So, okay, we're going to do a couple things here. Some of this may not make sense right away. It will start to make sense as we start to build this. The first thing that we want to do is we want to create a new broadcast. Now, if you guys don't know what broadcasts are pretty neat. Essentially what this block is doing is when we call this block, the broadcast is actually going out and it's telling the rest of the program that something happened. Now we can say that we can say anything. We can say broadcast potato. It doesn't mean that it's just showing a potato. It just means that our program yelled out into the void. It yelled potato, and every other sprite heard it say potato. We're going to do what's called new card. Obviously, we are in define new card. We're going to go to new card. So what we need to do is go to events. Excuse me, I accidentally went to control. Do that all the time. We need to go to events, and in events we have broadcast, and it says message 1. Well, let's just drag in broadcast message 1. We're going to change the name of this broadcast though, and we're going to say, click on the down arrow, click new message, and we are going to call it new card, just like we did up here in define. So what this is doing is this is again telling the rest of the program when our card decides that it's going to pull a new card out, we are telling the rest of the program that it's a new card. Now what this is going to do is we're going to use this in other places. The dice need to know when a new card has been pulled. When a new card has been pulled, the dice that have been used on the old card need to come back to us. So if we only had 2 dice left because we had used 4, we need those 4 dice to come back, so we have 6 dice left to us. We're going to have to use this new card to let the rest of the program know that something has happened. This is a broadcast. We're not going to worry about it right now as far as making it do something. We are just going to make it yell to the rest of the program. How do you get the small piece out of the big block? Yeah, which piece, Alicia? And thank you, Megan. I'm glad you're on here. Ah, found it. Good. See, there we go. I got one of the volunteers out here. That's what I like. You guys can ask Megan questions. Miss Megan will help you out. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we need to clear our lists. And I'll explain these lists in a minute too. These lists, what they're doing, there should be if I go to list, or go to variables, excuse me, and I see lists there's variables, and there's lists below variables. There's blue list and there's red list. You see the little pills there. Those little roundish circles are called pills. Those are holding on to a set. We are actually putting the numbers we're going to be putting on the card, we're putting them into the list so each player knows which dice they have to use. So if we pull a 2 card and it has dice 1 and 3, in the blue list we'll put 1 and 3, in red's list we'll put 1 and 3. It's kind of like what we're creating a brain, and the reason we're really creating this brain is so we know that we can't just draw random dice. These dice, they're very specific. So as humans, we actually store these lists in our head. We have to help the computer store these lists. I've already created the list for you. We'll program them. Just follow along. But what we need to do is, since we're starting a new card, we need to clear the list out. Whatever the last card was, we don't want those numbers being in our list anymore. So what we need to do is we need to get and delete all of red list, blue list. So we need to come here and where it says delete one of, or excuse me, that's different now. Don't do that one. There is actually a delete all. So we're going to do delete all of blue list, and then we're going to grab a second delete all, and we're going to change that to red list. So I made this code with Scratch 2.0, and this is Scratch 3.0. What I just tried to do, where I was trying to drag in delete one of red list or delete one of blue list. In Scratch 2.0, you replaced 1 or 2 or whatever that number was. You typed in all into it, and it would do that function for you. They have changed that. We actually have a delete all block now. It makes it a lot nicer. Okay. So now that we have delete all of blue list, delete all of red list, we're getting this ready. We're doing a lot. We need 2 more things to set up. And these 2 more things is we need to tell it how many dice we're going to be drawing. Now we're going to do this using clones. So what we're essentially doing is we always need to make it 1 less than what we actually want. Because if we want 6 dice, we're going to create 5 clones. This is what we're doing here, is we're telling bring all of our dice back. We're going to need a new card. We're going to create more dice so that we can roll all the dice that we would need to roll for the new card. So let's go up to the variables here, and we're going to use the set red dice and set blue dice to 5. So let's grab set, mine says blue score, to 0. Let's drag in 2 of these. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change this one to blue dice. We're going to change the second one to red dice. And we're going to set both of these to 5. Okay? So we're telling our program, we're telling the variables we have that we want 5 extra dice on top of the 1 we already get. Okay? I'll give you guys a second. And we'll stop soon and we'll make sure that this is working. We'll kind of go through and make sure things are functioning right. Remember that this is a YouTube video. You guys can always come back to it. If you come back to it and things aren't working right, leave a comment below. I can definitely help. You guys can share your project. I can come in and look at it. Also, one of the things that I have to encourage is if it's not working, read carefully and slowly. Pause the video when it's back up on YouTube, and you can go through it piece by piece. Pause the video and then read very carefully what these say, and most likely you'll catch it. Most of the time I see people make errors, it's because they typed something or did something wrong with clicking around. So right now we have delete all of blue list, delete all of red list, and then we're going to set blue dice to 5 and set red dice to 5. So this is pretty cool. We've come in here and we've got this initialized now. The game feels where it should be. It's starting to tell everything in the game how each player should play. The blue is the AI. It's telling it how it's going to behave. The red is us. It's telling us how we're going to behave. We're doing well here. We're gonna get pretty good today, pretty far. We may not finish this today, and that's okay. This might be a multi-parter. All right, the next thing we need to do is we actually need to pick a random card. Now I'll show you guys. You don't have to go do this. I'll just show you. In costumes, I have 3 different costumes built. I got a blue, I got a yellow, and I have a purple. And each one, you notice, is worth a different amount of points. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into the code here, and we need to pick a random card. We need to go in and decide, are we getting 2 points, 10 points, or 15 points this time? We're going to do this by switching the costume. So let's grab switch costume to, and it should say something like costume 3, 1, or 2 in here. Mine's set to costume 3. This is not going to make it random. We have to make it random. So we're going to do this by going to operators, and we have a pick random number generator in here. So right now it says 1 to 10. We only have 3 costumes. So we're going to make this pick random from 1 to 3. And then we can actually drag this in, even though this is a drop-down menu here. This is pretty cool. This is one of the things I like about Scratch. Look at the shapes that things are. Things fit where they may not look like they fit. So in the switch costume to costume 3, we're going to drop this pick random 1 to 3 pill. We're going to drop that in. And check this out. We can test this out now. This is the point where we can actually start testing. Let's go up to the green flag and click that green flag a couple times. Just keep clicking it. See what it does. You're going to notice that, you should notice if we did it right, that it's actually coming in here and picking a random costume. It may pick the same costume more than once, but that's okay. Not too bad, right? Pretty cool. Okay, sorry, just looking at something there. We can also test this function here by clicking on it. When we click on the function itself, you'll notice it highlights yellow for a second. that's actually telling us that it's running, and you'll notice that it's actually running in the program as well. Okay, how we all doing? Is it working? Gotta turn the microphone back on there. Sorry, it's taking a drink. You guys are quiet. That's okay. I'm gonna assume that quiet means we're doing well. I mean, Pierce and Kaizo are quiet, but they're always quiet. Okay. Oh, we got a good. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna go with a good. Okay, here's the next thing that we need to do. Now that we have a costume number, what's really cool in Scratch is the costume number is actually a variable to us as well. We can tell what was randomly picked by asking the costume, hey, which number are you right now? And then from there, we can do multiple things. And what we're going to do is we're going to decide how many dice to pick. So we need a bunch of if-then statements. We're going to drag in 3 if-then statements. So let's go to Control. We're going to grab 3 if-then statements and drop them right below the pick random. Now, here's what we're going to do for checking this. We're going to go to Operators. We're going to take 3 of our equal signs, those nice rupee looking shapes there. Okay, we want to know when it's equal to something. I know that I tell you guys all the time, if you've been in any of my classes or clubs or built anything like this, I always tell you guys, never use equal then. This is like the one time we can use equal then. If you're looking at scores and stuff like that, never use equal then. It's bad. It's very rare that you hit a number right on the spot. You always want to use greater than or less than. We don't want to use that here. That will get us in all sorts of trouble. We could if we did the right logic. We don't want to do that. It's a nightmare. We're going to use equal then. I know that you will rarely hear me say that, but we're going to do it this time. So then we're going to go to looks here, and in looks we are going to grab down at the bottom here. You notice just like our variables, we actually have variable the variables have little check mark buttons. These also have check mark buttons showing that they're a variable. One of those is named costume number. Let's drag 3 of these in, and we're actually going to put them in the first part of the equals operator. Okay. Now here's what we need to do. We need to decide which way we're going. So we know it picks from 1 to 3. So each one of these we need to just put 1, 2, and 3 into. So we want to know when it's costume number 1, costume number 2, or costume number 3. Okay. Now that we have these, you guys probably do the nightmare why. I don't know what that means, Bailey. I'm not gonna lie to you. Do the nightmare why. Anyway, you'll notice that these shapes are actually the same shape as the if-then statement. So let's drag those in. And again, remember everything is left weighted. So let's drop it over the edge. If costume number is 1, 2, or 3, then we're going to do something. All right. The last thing we need to do here is exactly what we did at the top. We're going to say it's a new card. That tells certain dice to do, that tells the red dice and blue dice to do certain things. We need to actually tell the program what card was picked. So we're going to do the same thing we did at the top. We're going to broadcast. the hard way. Are you getting at the fact that I just didn't duplicate? Is that what you mean by the hard way? Is that I'm doing things the long way, the hard way? You retain it better if you do it over and over again. That's why we're doing it that way, if that's what you're getting at. All right, so we're going to go to events, and we're going to drag in 3 broadcasts. We're going to drop the broadcasts in here. And we're going to name these 3 different things. We don't want it to be new card anymore. When we pick card 1 we're going to say is a new message, and we're going to call it 2 dice. Because when we do card 1, we're going to be drawing 2 dice. In card number 2 here, we're going to do another new message. And in this message, we're going to do 3 dice. Because if we get one of these, we're going to make sure that 3 dice show up on the card. Okay? And then for the very last one, card number 3, this is actually going to be 6 dice. Speaking of nightmares, the 6 dice one is a nightmare because your chance of getting all 6s takes a horribly long time because of random number generating on dice. All right, so we have now 2 dice, 3 dice, and 6 dice are the different broadcast messages. I'm going to give you guys a second to catch up to this spot. Go ahead and do so. So I don't know what you guys think, but I have the stream playing in my ear here, so I can kind of hear if there's anything funky going on or anything bad, and you know, like bad noises or background noises besides the noisy chair. And I don't know what how you guys feel, but I feel like this sounds a lot better this week. I feel like I can hear myself better, and I'm not hearing like background static and background noise. And we got this cool little filter on the front of the mic. It's called a pop filter. So when I say things with like P's in it, like pop filter, it's not going to be as violating to the mic. It doesn't spike the sound really bad. Okay. You mean 6 discs? 6 dice? Yes, should be 6 dice is the last one. All right, so we have a good start here. We have it actually telling the rest of the program what to do, but our card's not finished. The one thing that we need our card to do is actually generate these dice now. So what we want to do is let's go back to the card dice, the white one, the very first one, and let's make sure that up at the top corner here that we have that white dice there. Let's not make the mistake I made earlier. Okay. Great, so let me pull up my code, 1 second. We need to start generating these dice based on what's happening in our broadcast. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to broadcast, when we receive the broadcast 2 dice, we're going to generate 2 dice. We're going to make them random, and we're going to we're going to call a function that does something special for us here. Again, we're going to have another function. It's pretty cool. We'll get there in just 1 second. The first thing we need to do is let's come to events. And in events, we're going to, right above broadcast, we say when I receive, and mine instantly says 2 dice there. We're going to drag that in. This is the first one we're going to work with. Okay. So I'm not going to get into this too much, but there's a trick when we're working with multiple items in our UIs. There's what's called layers, and layers matter a lot. In this game, they're actually going to matter a bit. The reason being is that we're putting dice on top of oh, you don't hear a chair? Thank God you don't hear the chair. It's absolutely terrible. Every time I move, the chair squeaks. Okay, so what I was saying is when we have multiple sprites here, we need to make sure that the card doesn't show up on top of the dice. We want to make sure the dice show up on top of the card. This is done in layers. Layers are very difficult. I'm not going to get into them too much, but what we're going to do is we're going to go to looks, and in looks we have a go to. So we're going to say go to, and we're going to just leave it as front layer. This means that the dice is going to come all the way up towards us. So you kind of have to think of it, even though we see it in 2D, you have to think of it in 3D. There is actually a 3-dimension to our code. It's weird. It's a hard concept to get around. But this is telling our dice to come all the way towards the user so that it shows up on top of everything. Nothing else will be above it. The next thing we're going to do is the mistake I made earlier. We're going to set the size to 13%. So let's grab set size in looks here and set it to 13%. Made that mistake earlier, didn't I? Look at that. This is where we fix it. All right, now we're going to tell it to go to certain places. We're going to tell these dice, depending on how many dice we have, they're going to position in certain ways so that they look nice. And we want it to look nice. We want it to match the cards. We want it to match the game and how the game looks. So just trust me. I'm going to say these go-to numbers, put them in there. I've already just kind of calculated this out. I just did it earlier. When I built this, I did it by dragging and dropping stuff around and then seeing where the X and Y showed up. And then I just kind of noted it. And then when I built the code, I just put those X and Ys back in. Okay. This is important. You want to do this with your game. You don't want to just assume it's going to show up someplace. So go to motion, go grab the go to X, Y, and this one we're going to set X to -20, and we're going to set Y to 60. Okay. So -20 and 60. You're bored? Bailey, you know what they say about people who are bored. They say that they're boring. Careful who you tell you're bored. They might start thinking things about you. All right. If you're lost, just say you're lost, and we can go and we can review things too. That's okay. And that goes for everybody. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we actually want to call this function that doesn't exist yet. So we need to create the function. If you guys remember earlier, we're going to go to My Blocks, and we're going to make a block, and we're going to call this block Change Dice. Okay. Change dice, that's all we need. Looks good. We don't need any inputs. We don't need text. We just need it to be that right there. All right, now we have change dice. We're going to take this new block that's been created, and we're going to drag this in and put it right to the go to X and Y. I'm going to put it underneath that. Okay. And I'll explain change dice here. Actually, I'll do it right now. Why not? I was going to say in a minute, but let's do it right now. And I see we have more viewers than when we started. How is everybody doing? Is everybody catching up? Why doesn't the purple card have a label? I don't know, because when I go to the costume, it shows a label. But when I go to the program here, it doesn't show a label. I'm going to have to look into that. That is what we call a bug, and I'm going to have to fix that somehow. So let me take a look at that, and I'll get back to you guys next time. We'll figure it out. I don't want to try to bug fix it right now. All right, Pierce, Kaizo, everybody, how are you guys doing? We all caught up? Are we good? And I know some people might not be hearing this. I did turn on enable DVR so you can watch it and like pause it and then keep going and pause it and keep going, so it's not quite live. So if people want to talk later and tell me, hold on, go back to this, that's okay. We can always go back a little bit. I don't mind. Like I said, this might become a multi-parter. We might have to finish this next week, so just let me know if you guys are falling behind. I know I can't hear your voices, but you can talk to me through chat. Like, you know, I miss some of you guys. Alright, so what we're going to do in Change Dice is we want to pick random dice. This is how we're going to decide what dice show up on the cards. I don't have a bunch of pre-generated cards. Some people do that. Some people just make hundreds of cards and they put them in there and they pick a random one and that's the one they get. We're not going to do that. We're going to generate these dice very, very randomly. We're going to make this game a lot more difficult than it would be just owning the game. Doing awesome. Perfect. That's good. What is the X and Y? That's a good question. The X and Y is where the dice is going to show up on the background here. So when we create games or any programs, we actually have an X and Y. So Y is up and down, X is side to side. Right in the center is 0, 0. So what we're saying in this is going to go a little bit to the, well, it's going to go, yeah, a little bit to the left and it's going to go up. So it's probably going to show up right about here. It's a good question. All right. So to change these dice, we're going to do what we did with the card. We're going to do pick random. You don't have to look at this. I'm going to go to costumes and you're going to see that I have put all the different dice in here, all the different sides of a dice in here. So we just have to pick a different costume. So we're going to go to looks, and in looks, we're going to do switch costume to, and we're going to drag that in. Just like we did with the card, we're going to replace this pill section here. We're going to replace this with the operators, pick random, 1, and we're going to change this to 6. So we're going to do 1 to 6. Okay. Let's drop this in here. So we switch costume, pick random, 1 to 6. And then when we decide which costume we want, we actually have to save that. We have to let the player know what is expected. This is also for the AI. The AI will not work if it does not know which numbers are on the card, so we have to put them somewhere. So I've created 2 lists for this. This is that blue list and that red list. So we need to go back to variables, scroll down just a little bit to our little bit darker orange here, and we have our blue list and red list. We need to grab add thing to blue list, and we're going to grab that twice. And we're going to change one of these to red list. So we're going to have add thing to blue list, add thing to red list. All right. This is good. We're getting somewhere. We're actually getting really close to being done with this random generator here. The next thing we need to do is we need to know which number we added in. You'll notice that costume number is 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, and so on, 6 to 6. There's a reason that we developed the dice that way, so we can know which dice we had based on the costume. So we need to go back to looks, scroll down just a little bit, and we're going to take costume number, and we're going to drag costume number, that little pill out. We're going to drag that out twice. And where thing is, we're going to replace thing in the add thing to red list, add thing to blue list. We're going to replace that with costume number. All right, so we're saving this. This is great. We're doing well. You're going to notice though that when I generate one of these, and let's try to get a 2 in here. There we go. I got a 2 there for a second. When I get a 2, only 1 dice is showing up. We need to finish the rest of drawing 2 dice. And we're going to do this by creating a clone of the dice, moving it slightly, moving the clone slightly, and then changing the dice's number and adding it in again. So we're going to just recreate this right here, but with a clone. So let's go to control. And then we're going to use create a clone of myself. Yes, the X and Y is the same as the coordinate plane. You are correct. This is a coordinate plane. All games, all programs, we actually use a coordinate plane. In fact, in a lot of games and programs, we use multiple coordinate planes for a single view. So we might have, this is crazy. This is where it gets really, really crazy. You might have a picture that is high resolution, but you can't show it to the customer as high resolution. So you give the customer a low resolution picture that's only 100 pixels wide. So it's negative 50 and positive 50 on X and Y. But you want it to associate with a picture that's 500 wide, so negative 250, positive 250. So where they click on the program, if they click all the way at the bottom, which is negative 50 to them, you have to do math that says it's negative 250 on your other picture. So you might have multiple coordinate planes. It's really cool. It gets a lot of fun. It gets to be a ton of fun. I know math doesn't sound exciting, but when it works, it's exhilarating. It's very fun to just make it work. That's a really good question. And Jackson, I just noticed that your emoji is a dab emoji. I think I'm too old to dab. All right, so let's keep going. So we created a clone. This is going to create our second dice. We need to move our second dice now, so let's go to motion. And again, just trust me, we're going to say go to X and Y. Trust me on the numbers. I'm going to say 20 and 0. So we're going to go to X equals 20, Y equals 0. This is going to move our dice for us. At this point, though, we have a problem. We're going to create the clone and move the dice, but it's going to be the same number. It's always going to be the same number. So let's get a number 2 here. There we go. We got a 2 and 2. Let's grab a number 2 card, and 2 and 2 again. Okay, so we actually have a problem there that it's not picking a random number very well. You see that? It's complicating things. So what we need to do now is we need to actually go in and we need to change the dice again. So let's go back to my blocks. And what this is doing is this will grab a second dice randomly. So now if we've done things right, I can test this by just clicking on when I receive 2 dice. I don't have to click the green flag. And look at that, we're getting 2 different dice. Right on, that's what we want to see. That's great. Bailey, you know that by doing this is called computer science, and this is actually applied mathematics. This is called discrete mathematics. So you're actually doing math when you code. You'll actually get into this math when you get older. Like when you get to high school and start doing this math, you're going to be like, oh my God, I know how to do this, because you've already been learning how to code. You don't know it. It's tricky. It's really tricky. Okay, so we got the 2 dice drawing. That's great. Our 2 dice card looks good. Looks nice. Looks like what we want it to look like. Now we need to create, I'm going to move our 2 dice over here. We need to create our 3 dice. This is going to be very, very similar, but we're going to make things a little bit easier on ourselves so we don't have to always repeat ourselves. With the create, clone, go to, we're going to do math here. You guys don't have to worry about the math. I'll give it to you. So let's go to events and grab when I receive, and let's change 2 dice to 3 dice. Okay. All right. We need to do the same thing here. We want to make sure everything comes to the front. We want to make sure the size is set to 13. I know this seems ridiculous. Trust me, it will change itself. Bugs happen. We want to prevent bugs. So let's go to looks. We're going to create the same thing we did over here on 2 dice. So we're going to go to front. Let's grab go to front. We're going to set size to 13%. Now in our go to X and Y, we're going to do the same thing. Go to X and Y, going to be different numbers. So let's grab motion. We're going to grab go to X and Y, and we're going to set these to -30 and 80. And I'm going to hold there for 1 second. Your teacher dabs. Wow. Maybe he's not as old as me. And 2, is math coding. Is math coding. I wouldn't call math coding, but coding is math. It's called applied mathematics. So that means that we take what we know about mathematics and we use it somehow. Does it go the other way? I don't think so. I don't know if I would go that far. Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far. That's a good question, though. It's only doing 1 for you. Okay. So go ahead, Bailey. Take a look here and make sure this is where it's probably going wrong for you. And read through these real quick, real slow. Go through what you're doing. If you're only creating 1, I imagine that you might be either when you don't have create a clone of myself, or you're missing the go to X and Y. So it's still creating a clone of itself, but it's not moving it once it does. That's my guess. Okay. And again, this will be available afterwards. I'm going to keep moving. You're okay to come back and take a look at it and read through it slowly. Again, you can also comment on the video and ask questions. I will answer for you. It's not a problem. I'm more than happy to help. This is what we have to do while we're dealing with this, COVID-19. Okay, so let's get back to the 3 dice. So the next thing we're going to do, we have this go to X and Y. We're going to change the dice. We want to add our first dice. We've put our first dice on there. It's number 3. It's going to be a little bit higher and a little bit over to the edge. Let's see if I can get this pulled up here. 1 second. You guys don't have to do this. There we go. Notice the dice is up a little bit higher there. It was the clone. I figured it was the clone. Yeah. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 more dice. So we want a dice to show up in the center here, and then we want a dice to show up in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to do this by telling it we want to create 2 more clones, but instead of telling it go to X and go to Y, we're going to just tell it to shift down and over a little bit, and then down and over a little bit each time it creates one. So let's go to events. We're going to grab repeat 10. And we're going to change repeat 10 to repeat 2. Okay. What we're going to do inside this is exactly what I said. We're going to scroll down in events just a little bit, and we're going to create a clone of myself. We're going to have a lot of me running around. And then what we need to do now is we need to tell this, once we create the clone, to go down Y and over X. So we're going to move negative Y, positive X. Okay. So let's go to motion. And in motion, we don't want to use set. Do not touch set. This is where I see a lot of people make mistakes, is they're going to grab set instead of change. We want to use change because we're adjusting. We're not setting it, we're adjusting it. So we're going to grab change X by 10, and we're going to grab change Y by 10. Okay. Change. That's a key word. We want to keep that in our minds. I make this mistake too. So it's not just you guys that I see make this mistake. I make this mistake all the time. I assume, I grab really quick, and then my program doesn't work, and I'm like, what's going on? And it's because I said set instead of change. Okay. We're going to change our X. We're going to move over 30 pixels. Okay. So let's put in change X by 30. And we're going to do change Y by negative 45. Now, it doesn't matter which order you put these in. You can put Y first or X first. Just make sure that your numbers match your values, because we want to shift positive X. We're going to move to the side, and we're going to move from right here over, and then we're going to move down, which is negative y. So make sure that your numbers match your x and y. All right? Now let's check this out. Look at that. That's really cool. We're still drawing the same number though. It's going and it's shifting it for us. It's throwing them down at a diagonal. When I click on when I receive 3 dice, it looks good. It still looks great. But we have one problem here. We're still getting the same dice. This is where we need to go in and we need to tell it, nope, we need 2 more dice to be drawn because we've only drawn 1 dice. We're just cloning it. So we need to go back to my blocks and we're going to grab change dice and we're going to drop it right below here. And now, if this works, see if it's magical for us. Hey, there we go. Now I'm actually drawing random dice here. Got 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 1, 5, 3, 5. This is great. We got it working. So go ahead. I'm going to give you guys a second. I'm going to let you catch up here. If you want to test it, what you do is you hit this green flag. Keep hitting the green flag until the card turns yellow. Okay? Mine's taking a minute. Let's keep hitting the green flag. It'll turn yellow. There we go. Turns yellow. Then to test this, because we don't want this to go away, we want it to stay yellow, just click on this code block. This one right here. Click on that code block, and that'll change it for you when I receive 3 dice. Okay? So go ahead, give that a shot. I'm going to take a drink of water. All right, let's see. Look at these emojis here. Do we have any? Oh, my YouTube's taking forever. Is there a thumbs up? There should be a thumbs up. I see a thumbs up. You guys should give a thumbs up if you got it. Let's see if you got it. I want to see thumbs up. Look at that. I was able to do a thumbs up. I want to see a thumbs up if you guys get it working. Hopefully this is working great for you. You guys are real quiet. Hey, there we go. Pierce Kaizo, we got it working over there. I'm going to give you guys about 30 more seconds and then I'm going to get going on the 6 dice. And I think after we do the 6 dice, we'll end it there. So we're going to go through and yeah, we're going to finish the 6 dice. When we're done with the 6 dice, we will we'll just say that this is the card. We're done with the card. Next week, same time, same place, Thursday, 6:30, right here, we will do the next part, which is creating the dice roll and creating the AI, which is pretty cool. It'll be fun when you create something that can play against you. Okay. So I'm going to start on the 6 dice here. So I'm going to move 3 dice to the side for the moment. I have no idea what that emoji is. It's so tiny, I can't see it. Okay. Let's go back to events. And we're going to say when I receive 2 dice, we're going to grab the 2 dice. And we're going to change this to 6 dice. You guys are going to get tired of this. We're going to do the same thing we did before. I know, surprising, right? We always need to make sure that everything looks the way we want it to look. You want your game to look good. That's important. So we're going to go to looks. And we're going to say go to front layer. Then we are going to set the size to 13% once again. All right, now with the 6, this is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to have it diagonal anymore. It's going to be a 3x2. So it'll be 3 tall, 2 wide. So we're going to have to change this around a little bit on how we're generating this. And let me pull a purple card here. Okay, so the first thing we do, same as before, let's go to motion. We're going to set our initial start point. So we're going to say that this is -30 and 80. So this is going to come up to the top corner again. We're going to start in the top corner. It's always good to start somewhere in the same spot. You notice that we're at -30, 80, -30, 80, -20, 60. We're essentially all in the same spot. The only reason that 2 dice is a little bit different is we push the dice together just a little bit since there's more space on the card. Just makes it look balanced. So we do this because when we start creating the math for this again, it's gonna be easier for us. We're gonna know what's going on a lot quicker. All right, so let's go back to my blocks. We're gonna grab change dice and drop this in. Okay. Looks pretty much the same so far as 3 dice. And it is going to be very, very similar to 3 dice with an exception. And you'll see where this exception comes in a minute. So let's go back to control. We're going to grab repeat 10 and we're going to change it to 2. We're then going to create a clone of myself. Again, looking very, very similar, right? Here's where a small change is. We're going to start up here and we're going to create 2 extra dice going down. We're not going to create the other 3 dice yet. And I'll show you when we create the other 3 dice. So since we're only going down and we're not going at a diagonal, we're only changing our Y. So let's go to motion. And we're going to change Y. We're going to drop that in and we're going to change Y by -45. Okay, this is going to change it by 45 pixels, so it's going to start up in the top corner here. It's going to drop it, it's going to drop it, and I can see this when I click on this. There we go. We see that it's creating those dice. It's putting them 3 in a row, or 3 in a column, and looks good. We have our big problem that we've had before, which is the same dice are showing up, so we're going to go back to my blocks. And we're going to change dice again. Now we have 3 random dice. So far, so good. We're only half done though with this card. What we're going to do now is something very similar. We're going to kind of recreate the beginning of this. Because we're going to take where the dice is at the moment, which is right here in the bottom left corner. And we're going to change it to the top right corner. And we need to do this in the right order, otherwise it's going to look really funky. The first thing we need to do is we need to create a clone of this. So let's go back to control, and we're going to create a clone of myself. And the reason we're creating a clone is we want to create a clone before we move. Otherwise, we're going to move this bottom dice here up to the top corner. And that's not going to look good. I can show you guys what this will look like. Don't do what I'm doing right now. I'm showing you why it would be bad. Okay. So we're going to change this to the other side. We're going to change this to 30, 80. There we go. If we do this out of the wrong order, see how it looks funny? Doesn't look good. That's not what we want. We need to create a clone first. So we want it to look like this. Got those 3 in a row, looks good. Or 3 in a column, excuse me, looks good. We want to then say go to X and Y after we create that last clone. And we're going to take this and we're going to move it to to positive 30 and 80. And now if I try this again, we're up to 4. We're doing good. We're at 4. We are doing one thing wrong. We're not changing the dice yet. So let's go back to my blocks. We're going to change the dice. You see how I'm kind of piecing this together. As we're building this, I'm testing this and seeing what it's doing. I can build this slowly. I don't have to put it all together and then hope it works. I'm putting in a block, seeing how it changes. I'm putting in a block, I'm seeing how it changes. Cool. Now we're at 4. So we need 2 more. 2 more. And we've been doing this already, so we're not too far off. We're going to go to control. We're going to grab a repeat one more time. Because since I want 2 more, I might as well use a repeat. I'm going to do the same code over and over again. Might as well use a repeat. I'm going to create a clone of myself 2 more times. And then same as above here, I need to shift this down each time I create a clone. So let's go to motion, and we're going to change Y. We're going to change Y by -45. And we can check this. Oops, don't click the green flag if I'm already on purple. Just click the function or program function. Look at that. Okay, we're doing good still, but our numbers aren't changing. And they're not changing because we haven't told them to change. So we need to go back to my blocks and change dice. Now if I click this, sweet, looks good. It's changing. Look at that, 6 2 1 2 3 3 2 6 4 4 5 1. Look at that, we got 6 dice showing up. That's what we need to see. So there's one more thing with this, and this is, I don't expect you guys to know this. I don't expect you guys to have this as part of your thought process. But when we change a new card, we actually need to get rid of all the dice that are here that we've created those clones of. The reason being that it's a bug and it won't show up. I don't think it'll show up if you keep clicking the green flag. No, it won't show up if you keep clicking the green flag. It will show up once we start playing the game. So I'm just going to protect against it right now. Is if we get a card that has a 3 in it, and then we get a card that has a 6, that number, the second dice will continue to show up here. It'll be an artifact is what it's called. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into events, and we're going to grab when I receive 2 dice. And earlier we made a message called new card. We're going to say when I receive new card, we're going to go into control, and we're going to say delete this clone. What this will do is all the clones we've made when we create a new card, it's going to delete all of those clones so that there's no artifacts. So a card with 3 dice won't show up underneath a card with 6 dice. This seems really goofy, but it is necessary. Again, you won't see it if you keep clicking the green flag. You will see it when we start playing the game. So we're gonna take care of it now. We're not gonna worry about it. All right, so I'm gonna end this here tonight. Let me move this code up so that everybody can see it. If you come back through, here's the code for the card dice. This is great. We have all the cards being randomly chosen. This looks great. This is working exactly how I expect it to work. Here's the code for this. If you need to, come back to this video, pause it here. When you pause it here, you can read through this code. You'll be able to have nice, easy access to it. And let me pull up this code. This is the card. Sprite 1 is what it's called, but it's the card. I'm going to leave this here. Again, if you have any issues, come back, look at this, and read through it slowly. If you guys have questions, comment. I will respond to the comments, or even one of my volunteers may respond to the comments. We can help you guys out. This is YouTube. Earlier today, I turned it on and said that I'll be streaming. If you guys subscribe, and there's a little bell icon. If you hit that bell icon, it will let you know. It'll notify you if I'm going to be on again. So when you guys, you have your account, it'll pop up. If you have a phone, or if you just log in, it'll be a little bell up in the top corner. It'll say, the Future of Code will start a stream at a certain time. So it's a good reminder. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go for tonight. Thank you guys for hanging in there. And we will talk to everybody later. Stay safe. We're going to keep doing this. And we're going to stay safe ourselves. And everybody, wash your hands, sanitize, and stay away from people who are coughing and don't cough on other people. So we'll talk to you guys soon.